so my name's Teshi Cheema. I'm a professional Muay Thai fighter. I've got 3 titles. I'm a property investor. I run a few businesses as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Working for myself in property, doing the deals I'm doing, certainly does sort of give me the best of both worlds. But we're training in school to sort of like have this employee mindset, do your A-levels, get a job, get a 9 to 5, work your way up the corporate ladder. Do you think that's why our financial thermostats are set here and maybe not here, like where the millionaires are at? That's the difference between like the 1% and then, you know, like people who are technically ordinary, because the 1% will take these risks and these financial risks, and they will do stuff which that, you know, generally people aren't really doing. You know, so they're happy to invest in education, happy to start companies and start businesses and, you know, take on risks. But with the right education, those risks can become limited.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Unemployed podcast, where we talk about the journey to becoming self-unemployed and financially free. I'm here with a special guest, Teshi Cheema, who is a property investor, but also a professional Muay Thai boxer or Muay Thai fighter. So welcome, Teshi. Tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Teshi Cheema. So I originate from Leeds, which is in West Yorkshire up north. So yeah, I'm sure you all know where Leeds is. If you've not heard of it, it's a great city and you should get yourselves up here. I'm a professional Muay Thai fighter. I've got 3 titles. I'm a property investor, and I run a few businesses as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Great. So I know you through property investing, but are you? What would you say is your number one profession? Are you a property investor who does boxing on the side, or a boxer who does investing on the side, or is it literally like 50-50? Or
yeah, so it depends who was asking me. So if the fighters are asking me, I'm a full-time fighter. If the business people are asking me, I'm a full-time businessman. So it's 50-50 really. So yeah, so whatever scenario I'm in, if I'm in the gym or if I'm in the ring, then, you know, fighting's what I do. That's my main thing. That's like what my focus is towards when I'm in that sort of environment. But outside, when I'm on phone calls, when I'm doing viewings, or when I'm on meetings, or when I'm networking at these business networking events, then yeah, I'm a proper property professional. I'm a businessman, and my main focus is, of course, going for business and scaling and doing what I do on that side as well. So yeah. That's how I describe
it. That's actually really interesting, because I've, you know, for a long time I've had several businesses and jobs and side. You know, I've always been juggling lots of balls, or spinning lots of plates, or whatever you want to say. And I always find it is really difficult to focus on one, because whatever one you're doing, you always think, oh, you know, the other things are always there. You know, do you struggle with that, or have you found a way to really deal with that?
You know, you're definitely correct, mate. Like, it is hard to focus on just one, but I think the beauty of what I do with sport is, it's all about, like, it's mental endurance and it's also about physical endurance. With the whole property and the business side and the stacking numbers and the doing deals, I've got to get myself to a viewing, to my meetings, but it's all about sort of like your mental, like how far you can go mentally, and like how you can stack numbers, and how well you can speak and converse, and how like the etiquette you use. So it's like 2 completely different fields. In Thai boxing, I'm sort of pushing my body to the max and also my mental strength to the max. With the whole property and business side, I'm sort of just always problem solving and, you know, pushing my mental side to the max on the other end, really. So I think that's the beauty of what I do. I'm getting the best of both worlds almost. So my mind's always been sharp, and my body's also being kept like sharp and at peak performance as well.
But don't you feel sometimes, maybe if you're at the gym, do you ever think, oh, I should be trying to sort out this problem? Or when you're at a property, do you think I should be at the gym? Do the 2 things conflict, or have you found a way to sort of just be really strict with yourself?
Yeah. So it definitely comes with experience. So I remember at the start when I was trying to juggle doing both at the level I'm doing and both at, they were conflicting a little bit. Like sometimes at 5:55 when I'm meant to be at training at 6 p.m, I'd get a random call and it's like, Teshi, the electrics have gone in our property, come sort it out. Then I'd have to like either go sort it out or ring my electrician, and, you know, I might miss 15-20 minutes of training, or I might just end up going to training. But that was in like the more earlier days. And then vice versa as well. It's mainly, like I'd say, mainly at the start it will get in the way of training. Not all the time, not consistently, but, you know, the odd time it got in the way of training where I had to miss a session in the early days. But then but just having coaches and having good people around me, I'm quite clear focused on what my goals are, what my visions are, and where I need to get to in my sport and my fighting and what I do on the Muay Thai side. So I think it's all about discipline. So
Mm.
generally, like with my coaches, we always discuss, Teshi, we know what days you've got training, we know what times your sessions are when you've got to train. If it's 6 p.m. on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Thursday or 12 p.m. on or 12 p.m. on a Saturday, make sure you get there for that time. Business, up until that time you can do it before, and then after you finish training and you get showered and eat, carry it on after. It's still going to be there. The problems are still going to be there tomorrow, so you can always fix them. And then so that's just what I do. When it's time to train nowadays, I just go to my training session at that time and just stick to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's so you've learned to really focus on.
really
Yeah,
focus. Yeah, and
yeah.
that's for
Well,
help, and that's just for getting help and experience through multiple
mm,
coaches and mentors and people who are paid to leverage off their time and things like that as well. Yeah,
yeah. No, that's interesting. So we'll get more into that a bit later. But let's dive into a little bit more about who you are and your story, because I heard some of your story the other day,
yeah.
and it's it's
So
got
how did you find that
you've
talk? Sorry, sort of
really good.
in a circle. Yeah,
Yeah, no, oh, really good. I mean, you've got a really interesting life. It could have gone the other way, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, for sure.
But so I really admire how you've from the tragedy that you've experienced
Yeah, yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, there's certain upbringings I had and there's certain things which happened in my family early on, and then also how it developed into my teenage years and the sort of path I was going
Yeah.
as like a
So, are
teenager.
you okay to share some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to get straight into it. So yeah, so how do we go about it? So any questions?
Um,
What would you like to
well,
know?
tell us that from the beginning, like
Yeah.
what's
So I mean, to get straight into it with my life and my story, it probably started like the main thing in my life, like a turning point for me, or a big moment where it sort of troughed, is probably when like my mum passed away, which is going to be a hard and tough thing for anyone to go
mm,
through. No matter what age you are, no matter how young or how old you are, that's always going to be something which is going to hit quite close to home and be you're always going to feel it. Family tragedies are not nice. Anything like that are not nice. So yeah, that's where it started for me. I was probably about 4 years old at the time, but even at the same time as well, I always was with my grandparents as well. So my grandma and my
mm,
granddad, bless them both, they looked after me and raised me from like literally as soon as I was born up to where I am today. As I'm also doing the things I'm doing now, and they're still there for me. So my
yeah,
grandparents have been a big factor in my life. Even when I was growing up and being naughty and getting on the nerves and not really seeing eye to eye with them, they were still
mm,
there for me, still supported me in many ways, which I'm just forever grateful for. Especially my grandma, definitely put us through some things which probably not the best for any child to be putting their parents or anything through.
yeah. So, do you think that made you more naughty, made you more as a child more rebellious?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like not having a mother or like a real dad around, it sort of
Mm,
made me feel like I didn't really have anyone like properly looking after me. Even though I had my grandparents, it sort of felt like there was like something over my shoulders where I could sort of just not really have to like listen to anyone or conform to anyone really. So possibly
yeah.
psychologically, I've never looked into it, but who knows? It possibly could have had an effect on a few things and the way I am today. Yeah.
So, tell us about, did you do well in school and things? You're obviously very intelligent,
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, I think I'm quite intelligent, but I didn't do well in school.
Yeah, certainly was
Um,
academic, certainly not
yeah,
a star student, certainly didn't aspire to go to college and do well in college, certainly didn't aspire to go to university at all. Through primary school, I was probably so I remember myself as being quite talkative and being almost popular or like having a lot of friends in primary school, and I feel like that translated into high school as well. Might have struggled in year 7 and year 8, just finding my ropes and like bearing my feet, but I mean, like as I got into high school, I certainly just like, got more confident and started building a lot more friendships with, the right or the wrong people, sort of say, depending however you want to look at it. So yeah, so
mm.
school for
Hang
me,
on, so what do you mean by that? I need to dig deeper into that. What do you mean by the right or the wrong people? So you
yes.
you
So
mix with some people might consider the wrong people. Is that what you're saying?
exactly, yeah. So where I'm from, so we don't come from. a lot of luxury where I'm from, so to say. It's a very like so I grew up in a village called Micklefields, which is in Leeds. LS25 area is. I went to school in quite a nice neighbourhood, but where I'm actually from, it probably wasn't the best of areas growing up. Although it certainly has developed a hell of a lot, you know. So just like everywhere, a lot of new builds are getting built, and a lot of multi-million pound
Mm,
developments are getting built everywhere. Opportunity everywhere nowadays,
mm,
even where I'm from. So things are fast moving. But yeah, as a kid, you know, I was quite often told by my grandparents, "You're not allowed outside; it's dangerous." So hearing that as a kid for
mm,
the first time, it used to play on your mind. Like, why is it dangerous? Why do I live somewhere dangerous? And when that's all you know, you sort of do believe that and think that it's dangerous. But quickly, you know, so nowadays it's not really a rough place. It's quite a nice village, somewhere that you'd quite like your grandparents to settle down and retire in. But yeah, the sort of stuff that used to go on, it would just council estate vibes. I guess it was just a lot of drug use, so people like
mm,
that, drug dealers, stuff like that, twacking, you know, all sorts of crimes going on, lots of thieves. But yeah,
mm.
so I guess that sort of stuff
So
went on.
yeah. So how did you sort of avoid that? I mean, you say you were in the wrong crowd a bit, but you've obviously kept yourself out of it for the most part, and done really well. So how did you manage to do that?
Yeah, I mean, so growing up, I certainly probably was around it, and I certainly probably did know the people who were involved in that sort of stuff. Because as a kid, you still play out, you still play footy with your mates. You know, you're always playing games
Mm,
like Kirby. You know, so we used to, you know, we was always into sport as kids, playing cricket or you know just running around causing nuisance as kids, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and so I think. Through high school, as I got older, you know, you start going to parties, you start seeing more of this sort of stuff. So I feel like at that age, I wasn't really avoiding it. I think I was probably getting involved more than anything. And just maybe me, like I always wanted to like just make a name for myself as well. And I sort of always wanted to be sort of known for myself. And yeah, so yeah.
so you did get into the
Yes,
wrong
well,
crowd.
well, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, at one point, I definitely wasn't. Definitely wasn't the wrong crowd. Yeah, definitely causing trouble. My grandparents can probably advocate for that as well and say that I was mixing with the wrong
yeah.
people. They were telling me at the time, but you know what it's like as a kid. You don't want to listen, do you?
No,
Certainly
no.
didn't want to listen. I thought I was right. I thought I was doing the cool thing and stuff like that. But yeah, those roads just lead you down the
So so
fairly.
so did you then? Was there a point in time when you realised this isn't the right road for me? This isn't the right path, and you changed, or
Yeah.
did was there someone that came along? I mean, what did the boxing? When did you get? Tell us about how you sort of got out of that, or realised that wasn't the road you wanted to go down.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, really. So just throughout high school, I was just always mixing with the wrong crowd, like I say, going to parties and stuff like that. And about 15, 16, 17, I think my life started to change for almost like a bit of a path where I was just going to be some sort of lame nobody and not really do anything, just end up doing nothing with my life. And that wasn't really me. Like I always aspired to do big things. I've always had big dreams. So
Mm,
moving on from when I was like 16, 17, I just remember thinking to myself, right, I sort of want to make a change now. By the time I was 16, I sort of left high school after being suspended and all that sort of stuff. Got some like string rock bottom GCSEs, got a few GCSEs, but nothing spectacular. So that happened about 16, 17 when I then had to move, like start college because I didn't get a job. So I had a job, but I didn't really have an apprenticeship. So they put me straight in college in Leeds City Centre in like this brand new, pretty shitty college. Didn't really enjoy it. Like loads of
so
new.
what was that? Was that like A levels or some sort of
It
apprentice?
was, I think it was
Uh,
like level three B Tech, so maybe like one A
right.
level. But I just wasn't interested in it. Like I never turned up to my
Mm,
lessons. Like the school day'd start at like 20 past 8. I'd get there for like 9:30, and then I'd finish at like 12 o'clock. Even though it was meant to finish at like 5 p.m. So I just never went to lessons. It just wasn't really for me. Yeah, I just hated it because it was just a bunch of new faces who I weren't familiar with, and for me it was quite a traveling into Leeds City Centre, spending money on the train
mm,
tickets and doing all that sort of stuff. It just wasn't really for me. So I remember thinking to myself, what I want to do is I want to join the Air Force, the Royal Air Force, and just sort of get a trade behind me, get a job behind me. And so I was about 16, 17 now, and that's what I wanted to do. So I remember thinking to myself, to do that, I need to get fit. So I need to get fit. So
mm.
to get fit, I just thought, well, it'd be quite good to get into boxing. But then I was thinking to myself, I want to do Thai boxing. So I was on YouTube, I was watching like videos of like professional fighters at the time, UFC fighters, people like John Jones and Conor McGregor and all these guys. And I was like, I want to be able to do that. Like, I want to be able to like be on TV and, you know, fight at high level and just be able to beat people up for a living and get paid for it. And, you know, albeit that's what I'm doing now as well as what I'm doing now in property. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, started Thai boxing at about 17. Probably like January.
And that was purely your motivation for that was mainly to get fit to join the Air Force.
That was literally it, yeah. So like before I got into Thai boxing, I never thought to myself, I'm gonna go far with it. I'm never gonna fight. Didn't really know that was an option. Like, never really crossed my mind any of that stuff before I got into it. It was just literally purely just to get fit. Just to be fit enough to pass a fitness test that the Royal Air Force put you through. Started Thai boxing probably in about January, February time 2018. So about 6 years ago now, nearly 7 years now. And just after my first session or first couple of sessions, I just never ever looked back. Like, I instantly fell in love with like pushing my mind as hard as it could go and pushing my body at the same time to do the drills. And you know, it was just like I was a sweaty mess, probably had no technique, probably wasn't very good, probably wasn't very fit, but I just knew that like I loved it straight away. So I never looked back ever since then. And yeah, I remember as soon as I started, I just started thinking to myself, maybe I can win a title, you know, maybe I can be one of the best in the country or the best in the country. And so to have those thoughts quite early on, I definitely believed in myself from early on that I could be really good at it. And so that's what I'm still working towards now, just being the best I can be, being the best in the country, winning all the titles I can, winning world titles, and just fighting under all the different promotions and organisations that there are in Muay Thai as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at what point did the Air Force sort of
that's
not become an ambition?
Yeah, so what happened with that was, so I think there's like a ridiculous amount of stages you've got to pass to get in the Air Force. It's like 6 or something. And I think like one of the third or fourth stages was they do like a medical exam. So I passed like the first 2 or 3 theory tests and practical tests or whatever they are. Went to go do the medical test, and I wear contact lenses, mate. So I wear contact lenses. I've got quite bad eyesight, quite bad vision. So basically, they wanted me to fill a form out for my optician and give it to them. Well, I did that and gave a form to them. They took one look at it and said, your eyesight don't meet the requirements to be in the Air Force. We instantly can't let you in. Like, we're sorry, but we just can't join. So yeah, that sort of broke.
So you did take that as far as you could.
I did take
it's not
it
that
as far as
you.
I could. Yeah.
That's interesting.
You just don't work
So
hard.
you're not a quitter. You're not a quit. You didn't give up. You just that door closed on you.
The door closed on me, and then you know what it is. One door closes, 3 more open, and that's exactly what happened. So I ended up getting another trade behind me. I got employed by a company called Unilever. They make like aerosols, deodorants, Lynx, Shaw, Ben and Jerry's, Heinz. They're like £1 billion corporation.
Oh yeah, one of the largest companies in the world.
Really big food and drink company, manufacturing company. So I got an engineering apprenticeship with them, doing mechanical and electrical engineering, fixing the production lines, going to college, so getting some results out of that as well. But it wasn't really for me, you know. Even at the same time, working for that sort of company, having bosses and just you know, conforming to the waking up at 6:30 to get into work for 7 a.m. and then finishing at 7 p.m. or 3 p.m. or what, you know, whatever it was back when I was doing it. It just wasn't for me. So I didn't pride myself in wanting to climb the corporate ladder. I definitely always you know, had the ambition to want to invest in myself and self-develop myself to the maximum capability I could, and also just go as far as I could in business as well.
Yeah, so that's not something you're not doing anymore. But you are doing property. So did that evolve into property, or how did you get from there to where you are now? Or the start of property.
So about 17, 18, 19 is when probably my investing mindset, like the intelligent investor mindset, came upon me, and that's when I was reading books, you know, buying a lot of books, buying a lot of audio books, listening to a lot of podcasts, listening to people like Samuel Leeds, who, you know, we've done the training off, who I've got a lot of respect for. People like that, and then I remember from then originally my journey didn't start with property. It started with stocks and shares. So originally I just
Right.
I was just saving my wages and just putting them into stocks and shares, investing in these companies. I've lost tens of thousands of pounds investing in wrong companies, but I've also made tens and tens of thousands of pounds investing in the right companies as well. So I've still got stocks and
Yeah.
shares, and I've still got a portfolio in that as well, where it's doing quite well, and overall it's up. So yeah. So I think there's a saying: millionaires lose hundreds of thousands to become millionaires. People with hundreds of thousands lose tens of thousands to become at that level, and people with tens of
Yeah.
thousands lose thousands to become, to have tens of thousands. So yeah, I think it's one of those where I've
Yeah, there's
yeah,
risk in everything, and actually, I don't know. Here at Self-Unemployed, we've got this philosophy of there being like four stages of wealth, or four phases, I suppose. The first being to sort of stop money working against you. If people have got a lot of debt or credit card debts, a lot of bad debt,
yeah,
because that can spiral out of control.
yeah,
And then stage two is like learning about things like ISAs and pensions and stocks and shares or index funds, and starting to invest, starting to make money work for you.
yeah,
And a lot of people will never leave stage or phase two. That's fine. You can build quite a decent amount of wealth in that phase two. And it sounds like that's what you were doing.
quite a young age. Yeah,
You were in that phase two, but it sounds like you also wanted to get out of it into phase three, because phase three is what we're doing with property, doing things that may seem a little bit more risky to other people, but we're mitigating that risk by really learning, really educating ourselves, investing in ourselves, so that we know what we're doing.
yeah.
And it sounds like you were trying to go in. You wanted the risk. You wanted to take the risk and get the reward, but you hadn't invested in yourself yet.
As
Is
well.
that right?
So, yeah, that's certainly right. That sounds about right. Sounds like me.
Yeah. So how did you go from that point to finding the education,
Yeah.
and getting into stage three?
Yeah, so I mean, so whilst I was investing in stage two, I sort of realised that the stage two, the stocks and shares, weren't gonna let me live life on my own terms in the next couple of years or the next year or so. I sort of knew that I
Yeah.
had to find a business quickly, and even at this point, I was starting businesses and failing businesses as well. So I remember I tried to learn like word design, like WordPress web design, just
Mm.
just watching hour-long videos on YouTube where it tells you how you can make websites, and I was just randomly cold calling and cold emailing loads of companies, trying to say to them, trying to offer my services to them, just failing horribly. I ended up making 2 websites but didn't get paid for them, and I think I was doing it for like a good 4 or 5 months, and I just didn't have any direction, didn't have any mentorship, didn't really know what I was doing. Um, just pretty clueless about it, but also trying my best. So that's where my entrepreneurship journey probably started. That was one of them. That failed horribly anyway. But
So yeah, but that's interesting though, because it sounds like you really have this entrepreneurial spirit. Because
yeah,
how old were you when you were doing that? Like
I
17,
was
18?
probably 18, yeah, 18 years old.
Yeah, the most 17, 18-year-olds are not going out ringing companies trying to get work.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
so that's yeah. So yeah, okay, didn't work out. You didn't know what you're doing,
yeah,
but still, you were showing that entrepreneurial spirit from a young age. Although you're still young.
yeah,
What are you? 24, 23?
23 years old. Yeah,
Yeah,
24
yeah.
November.
I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so let's go. So what happened next? And how did you
yeah.
go from
So
that
the journey's
to?
quite cool, yeah. So moving on from how I went from that to like the next step was so I was investing in stocks, trying to do this website design business, knew it didn't work, came across these YouTube guys like so originally it was like American YouTube guys like Grant Cardone and
Mm,
Cavone and Tony Robbins and people like that. And I was picking up little bits of jargon which were to do with like real estate, but it was nothing to do with UK real estate. I think I was going on about Roth IRAs, and people were like, "What the fuck?"
yeah.
And I was like, well, it's this thing. You invest in a Roth IRA and you're going to be a millionaire when you're 55, but it's nothing to do with you.
Well, that's still stage two.
Yeah,
And a Roth IRA is kind of like an ISA, or is it like a pension?
some,
That's the equivalent,
yeah,
yeah, or in the UK. And yeah, you can, by the time you're 50, if you keep investing in that, you can build a decent amount of wealth
yeah,
by the time you're 55.
certainly
But
can.
people like you and me, we want to do it quicker.
Yeah, we want to
right?
be entrepreneurial, so we want to replace that income and make money quite quickly as well. You know, make the fast pound. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that happened. Then I came across Samuel Leeds, which was great. After coming up across Samuel Leeds, I learned about these strategies on YouTube, like lease options, rent to rent, BRR, flipping, buy to let, and then from there. I originally invested a couple of grand that I hadn't saved up into a property training program, not with Samuel Leeds, with a different property educator, who at the time,
Mm.
it was good, and I invested a couple of K into that, and I got the network, and I met some great people along the way, and I definitely learned the A to Z on these certain property strategies like buy-to-let investing and service accommodation property investing. But for me, it
Yeah.
was lacking certain bits of mentorship and certain bits of networks, which I've realised now I've become older. There are better networks out there. Not to take anything away from that guy, I feel like everything happens for a reason. But for me at that time, at my age, I feel like I needed a little bit more of a support and a little bit more of a push. And for where I was at, I'm not sure if he offered it or I'm not sure what happened, but it wasn't exactly for me, that property training course. But I still picked up from it what I picked up from it, and I still use
Mm.
principles and things like that which he teaches to this very day. So it's quite good. Uh,
Yeah.
even though I was enrolled onto that property education, I think I enrolled around February time 2020, just before COVID happened in March 2020. So I was out booking viewings for service accommodation properties, rent to rent properties, and but like I said, I was just hitting hurdles, wasn't getting anywhere with it, doing all the theory but struggling. So for a couple of years, I was just on the back burner. You know, plodding along, like doing 3 months, really trying to take a lot of action, getting disheartened for 3 months, doing it for 6 months, getting disheartened for 4 months,
Mm.
and stopping it all together for like a couple of months. But it was still in my mind. It was still massively in my mind. Still watching YouTube of these educators, and
Yeah. Yeah.
really knew I wanted it.
Yeah. Now, hang on. So stop there, because that's actually really, really interesting. I think a lot of people watching this, a lot of people who are, even people like in the academy,
Mm,
they, we constantly hear about these successes and things, which is great. It's really motivating. But often people might be 6, 8 months, 9 months, or even coming to the end of their 1 year in the academy and have not done very much and feel like a bit of a failure
yeah,
because of that. But so it's really interesting to hear that, for you, it took a couple of years. You were doing this back in 2019,
yeah,
20 or 2020,
exactly, yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's when you started, and things didn't really get started. Okay, you had the pandemic and stuff, which probably didn't help.
yeah.
But then it wasn't. Yeah, it was a couple of years later, really, when things took off for you. So that's good.
It was
Good to hear. In a way,
absolutely, yeah,
it's not, because it's not easy. It's not as easy as sometimes it feels. It people
people
make out. You know
understand
what I mean?
it from what it is. But then when you're doing it every day and you are successful for so long, it
Yeah.
really does become that easy as well. Like at the
Yeah.
start, it wasn't as easy for me as what it is now. Now a lot of opportunities present themselves to me. A lot of people approach me, but at the start, when nobody knows
Mm.
it and when you're still learning, you know, you've got to go through that hilly. Like that hilly momentum to get to like almost, I won't say I'm at the top, but you want to get a good level at least.
Yeah, and it must have been even harder for you, being only like, what, 19 at the time,
Yeah,
or 18, 19, and the pandemic on.
yeah,
Yeah, so yeah.
yeah, certainly.
Uh, yeah,
Yes.
so how did you, yeah, tell us more about that. How did you then, yeah, so what is it that makes it easy when you're more experienced? That obviously you know what you're doing, but how do you get there? What
Yeah.
changed?
I really feel like what changed is when you can just leverage off people who are ahead of you and who genuinely want to help you and give you time
Mm.
every day to see progress. So when reaching out to people like myself, or if you've got certain mentors who are giving you that time of the day, when you can just like sort of book a call with them and not intrude their personal time, and they're happy to help you, and reach out to those sorts of people, I feel like that's a massive, massive game changer. Because even if you've got the education, you've got the A to Z, I still feel like you definitely need to learn from other people, because you're going to hit hurdles. Like right now, like I'm starting like a new property strategy, by Refurbish, Refinance, where And it'd be working out end values of properties and how much a property is going to take to refurb, and then also offering the right price for a property to make the deal stack and make 25% and all this sort of crazy stuff, which only now I'm sort of understanding the jargon. But 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to talk about it how I'm talking about it now. So really, it's just about reaching out to people who are ahead of you, who have done more than you, and trying to leverage off their knowledge and their skill and what they've shown they're capable of doing as well.
Yeah.
But
And
that's
these people that you're talking about, these are just other property investors you've met through networking, or is it paid trainers?
both, absolutely both.
Yeah.
Yeah, so paid trainers, people who you find and you meet a networking that's who are successful. You build relationships, you nurture relationships. Of course, you've got to be a positive person. You've got to speak to them. You've got to build relationships, and you've got to sort of provide them value as well. Like providing value is easy. You can just be yourself and provide value. Like sometimes you might be a breath of fresh air to someone if you're giving them the right conversations and giving them the right knowledge and just bouncing ideas off each other. So if you can definitely put yourself in those right rooms and always put your best foot forward, I feel like it's impossible to not succeed. Plus, pair that with always taking action, always trying to reach out to people and always listening to the steps and actually taking action on the steps. I feel like it's pretty much impossible to fail at anything that you want to do in life. That's my mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think people might underestimate the value that they have,
I
even
certainly do.
if you're getting into property or something,
Yeah,
and you haven't got a lot of experience in property.
yeah,
You know, you might have experience in anything else. For you, for example, you had a lot of experience in martial arts and
yeah,
Muay Thai.
yeah,
That's something, and that would give you some mindset tips that would be helpful. You
yeah,
know, anything like that can really be helpful. And this is what I found. Not just coming into property. I trained to be a filmmaker,
yeah,
and I did that for a while. It's obviously a very competitive, very difficult industry, and I got tired of it. Decided to travel a bit, and I ended up teaching English. And it wasn't long before I then started making little videos on YouTube about learning English, teaching and learning English.
yeah.
And then that channel really took off.
Right.
I got about 215,000 subscribers on that now.
Well,
But it's sort of on the back burner a bit because it doesn't make much money. But I'm doing the same thing again now, bringing that content creation
yeah,
skills and trying to bring value to this new community and new
yeah.
line of business. So
It's really cool as well what you're doing. You know, I've seen some of the guests you've had. I was just on the phone to Nathan Lamb earlier, and I was like, I'm
all
doing
right.
a podcast with Colin, and he was like, yeah, so I've done mine as well, you know, so we're waiting to upload it. So I'll be watching that one. I've seen the ones you've done with Samuel, and yeah, it's really cool what you're doing, mate. I'm glad to be on it as well. Yeah, thank you for inviting me on.
So what are you doing now then on the property side?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of rent to service accommodation, a lot of rent to rent deals, deal sold a lot of deals. I've got a furniture and staging company where I professionally set properties up, make them look nice, you know, sort of like making these Airbnb feels like vibes, sort of. And then we also manage properties as well. So I've got a team of people who manage properties, and I've got a team of people who help me set up the properties. And I also leverage off my contacts and people to bring me deals, to sell the deals onto particular people who want the deals as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've got an investor could want to get into service accommodation, and it sounds like you could do everything for them. You could source them a property, you could set it up, and then you could manage it.
From start to finish, you know, generally nearly all of my investors just trust me to do it all, trust me to carry out the viewings of the due diligence. They put their trust and faith into me, and then I'll just make it work for them. So yeah, fully.
So if someone asking for a friend, if
Yeah,
I wanted to do a rent to rent with
yeah,
you, and I wanted it to be as hands off as possible,
yeah.
how hands off can it be? What would I need to do, and how much is it going to cost?
Yeah, so it can be as fully hands-off as you can just be sat where you're sitting now and you don't have to lift a finger or do anything except for you pay for services along the way. We manage everything. We're doing all the heavy lifting. We're doing the real legwork. So what it looks like is this. So we like to break it down into stages when I'm sort of on calls with my clients. Stage one is deal selling. Now, to break it down for you, deal selling is where we will go out and view properties. We'll make sure the properties work within the area that you're looking. We will do the due diligence to the absolute best ability we can do that due diligence to by using tons and tons of comparables in the area, finding out what's going on in the area and making sure it's a viable investment which is going to make you money and which works in the service accommodation market. So we do that. We will then present that deal to you with all the numbers, the figures, the photos, the videos, the full addresses, absolutely everything you could want. And then you'll make a decision on whether you want it. Usually that'll be influenced by me because I'll only ever put a deal out there which I fully believe in and that I fully trust in, based on what's going on in the area, the comparables and how strong of a deal it is. So the fee for that is £3,000 plus VAT, so £3,600 because I'm VAT registered. Then that's stage one. So that's for deal selling, where you've now got this deal. Now, stage two.
Right. So that deal is I'm now renting, or my company is renting a property from a landlord.
For the rent
Right.
service accommodation model, that's right. Yeah.
So then what's the next stage on that on the rent as service accommodation model?
So stage two, we're saying that you're completely hands off, is we'll then set up, stage and furnish the property. So we'll collect the keys for you. We will then go in there and we'll use our power team of interior designers. I use I use my very close friend and a lady called Jess Moss from the Tutty group. I'm very, very close friends with her, Joe Tutty.
Okay, yeah, I know Jess and Joe. Yeah, I have talked to Joe about coming on.
Yeah, you
We
should
haven't
get them
made
on.
it happen, but
You know,
yeah.
really cool people. So I definitely advocate for them, definitely vouch for them. One of my closest friends in this game.
Right.
So she helps me with the interior stage and tells me what to put where. Of course, we bounce ideas off each other, and she's helped me with a ton of properties. And yeah, she's really good at what she does. So I leverage off her. So that's my interior design team. So we've got teams in this, and then from there, we'll just set the properties up. So as I've discussed with my partner, and so we'll set the properties up, and then it just goes down to buying all the furniture. So to break it down for you, if you've got a fully unfurnished property, which I'm sure you can imagine, we buy sofas, TVs, mattresses, headboards, beds, dining tables, chairs, kitchen appliances, bathroom items, microwaves, toasters, kettles, lock boxes. We paint the walls. We do feature walls. We can add wood paneling there. We buy cushions and we buy little throws and pillows and just really make them stand out. So we do them to a very high standard. We literally set everything up. So not a single picture frame cock hair out. Everything's done perfectly. Everything's done nicely. We're not drilling in 10 holes to, to put up one picture frame. So everything's done really proficiently,
So
accurate.
as a ballpark figure, say on a sort of three bed semi house,
Yeah.
I mean that's going to be quite a lot of money, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean, 10K, something, maybe 8 to 10K.
Yeah, so based on a one bed unfurnished property, we say it's going to cost £3,000 to set up, and that's what you can use as a rule of thumb to buy all the furniture. Now, of course,
3,000 for a one bed, like a one bed apartment.
a fully
Is that what you said?
unfurnished one bed apartment, we're going to say, so as a rule of thumb, it'll cost you £3,000 to fully furnish that to our standards. Now, each time you get a property which is higher in size, like a 2 bed or a 3 bed, that cost is going to increase by roughly £1,000 per room. So if you get a 3 bed property, it's going to be £5,000. If you get a 2 bed property, it's going to be £4,000. But then, of course, we add on our labour fees for that as well. So to pay our teams and to pay our staff, we've got to add labour onto that. So we do it as an all-in-one package where we buy all the furniture and we set it all up for you. So it's fully hands-off and completely passive for you. Honestly, throughout the entire process, you don't even have to view the property. And generally for speed, we just do that for you anyway. So we like to get the ball rolling, and we like to get cracking on as well. So
Yeah. And do you have a patch that you work within, or are
So
you?
this strategy works anywhere in the UK. So nationwide, we know where these deals work. We've got a lot of experience in this strategy over the years. I've done it and studied it and actually been really doing it and managing properties and getting properties. So these strategies work anywhere in the UK,
Yeah. But in terms of you yourself, are you, because you need to go and see the properties and
Yeah.
or do you just ring someone up nearby, or
So
do you have relationships in certain areas?
yeah. So I've got relationships all over the UK. So how it specifically works is I cover the Leeds and West Yorkshire, North Yorkshire area. So I might travel down to Manchester or travel up to Newcastle, and we might cover those areas and Sheffield and places like that. But then I'm also in touch with someone very close to me who I can vouch for, who's going to furnish properties for me to a very, very high standard. So I only vouch for the best. I hold myself to a very,
Mm,
very high
mm.
standard with everything I do. So if I'm not managing the property and if I'm not furnishing and staging the property, then I'll use one of my partners who I can vouch for 100% that they're going to do an amazing job, and that's verified by me.
Yeah,
So yeah.
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 Okay, so you sourced me the property.
Yeah.
You've staged it, you furnished it, and everything.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Yeah, next will be the management. So this is where we manage our property for you. So we like to photograph a property for you, nice professional pictures, nice little edits to make them really pop on the listings. So we create posters for you, do a lot of marketing for you, do a lot of advertising for you. Put these posters and all these pictures on Airbnb, on Booking.com. We've got a direct booking website, so we put them on as many travel managers as we can. So we put them on as many online travel agents as we can, and all these websites and all these third party booking websites where they can get you bookings. So we list your property everywhere where it can be seen. We get a lot of direct bookings through all our contacts. We get a lot of long-term bookings just through our strategies, which we use to get long-term bookings. And you basically get a full financial breakdown at the end of each and every month, where you will get your payout.
Great. So does this work anywhere you've said you can cover anywhere in the country, but does the strategy work anywhere in the country? Is there demand for any house to be or flat to be a service accommodation?
Yeah, certainly throughout my experience and going through the motions and the process of learning what I've learned, it's not always best to do a service accommodation in any area or for any house. It's going to be it's going to want to be a certain standard. It's going to be a certain area. It technically it probably can work anywhere. You probably will get bookings anywhere, but it's just a matter of fact on whether you want to. Like, for example, if you're in a very, very rough area where you wouldn't let your missus go out and you basically should be safe if she were going out late at night, you might not want to do it in that area because there's going to be a point where family might book that property, and if that guy's partner is taking the baby out, and then there's dodgy stuff going on that street and she don't feel safe, she's not going to leave a nice review, or that family's not going to leave a nice review, and it's just not going to be one of those areas where you want to keep those properties. You want sustainability. So for sustainability, I generally say stick to areas where you're going to be safe. Like a safe can be anywhere. Not places where it's very like low funded, where like the main rough dodgy stuff is going on. Stay out of those areas, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think something that I've learned is I think service accommodation does seem to work a lot more than people would think. I think when you explain it to somebody for the first time, they often think, oh, it's holiday lets,
Yeah,
and or but actually there's a lot more to it than that. In fact, most people who are doing well say that actually holiday lets is a small part of their occupancy.
it
Is
certainly
that
is.
fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more. So who is it? Who is it who's booking these service accommodations?
Yeah, a lot of workers, like a lot of people who are just working away on secondment, 9 to 5 workers, tradesmen, contractors, builders, working professionals. You get nurses who book. So you get a lot of foreign people booking now. So a lot of our target markets are like Chinese people coming from Hong Kong and like certain Saudi people as well. We've been getting a lot of bookings from these certain demographics in these certain areas in the world. So definitely
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
overseas people, and definitely a lot of workers, contractors, just professional people, really. Professional people with jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. So anywhere where there's any kind of where there's a lot of activity, a lot of business going on,
Yeah.
it can work. It can work well. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So built up towns, built up cities where there's a lot of stuff going on. Restaurants nearby. Stuff where you'd expect stuff to be going on. Basically, that's basically the best way I could put it.
Okay. So that's the service accommodation model, but there are other models or strategies that you've mentioned. You said you're more recently getting into BRR.
That is
So tell us what BRR is for those who don't know.
right. So BRR, certainly with our strategy and what we look to do is we look to buy these properties which are rundown properties, basically need a bit of glamorisation, need some modernisation, need doing up. And we basically buy these properties for cheap. We spend money on them to refurb them and to make them livable and to make them nice homes. And then we will then pull our money back out of the new value of a property, and then we'll rent this property out to either a family or to an association or a charity or room by room, or even service accommodation as well.
Yeah, so you can do BRR to service accommodation. That's almost the best of both worlds.
It really is.
In some ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something you're getting into now. Have you got any
Yeah, so have
on the
you?
go?
Yeah, so submit some offers for some certain properties now. So it's really just about sticking shit to the wall and making sure it sticks, really. So I say,
Right.
and yeah,
Yeah,
so just
yeah.
submitting a ton of offers, and then yeah, just seeing what.
So are you actually doing BRR or are you sourcing BRR properties?
Bit of
Or
both,
both?
a bit of both. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
yeah. So
Yeah, it makes
I'm
sense to do
quite
both
hungry
because
to
you,
be
yeah.
honest. Like I want to be taking on projects. So if I see a project which I like, I'm going to submit an offer, and if that offer gets accepted, it's going to go to my investor. But if I submit another offer for another property and that gets accepted, I'm also going to try find the finance and raise the funds to do that myself, and also use my own funds as well. So yeah, try bring everyone together, make sure everyone can eat the cake, and
Yeah.
make sure we can all
Yeah, because
win.
for BRR, like if a deal works, you should. I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult to get finance through bridging, bridging loan and things like that. So,
Bridging loan, yeah, investor finances,
but I guess you're always going to be able to find more deals than you can do yourself. So,
yeah.
yeah,
I always say this.
because you don't want to have 20 building projects going on at a time. You'll run out of builders.
It's exactly, yeah, that's true as well.
um,
Yeah, yeah. So you want to keep yourself like sort of not spread too thin.
okay, so yeah, so tell us more about some of your fights and titles that you've got.
Yeah, so I think my first title I won was a Northern Area ISKA title at 61 kilograms. I think I had about 7 or 8 fights at this point. And when did I win it now? I think I won it in about December 2021 or 2022. I think it was 2022. So I'd have been about 21 years old, or maybe just turned 22. I really can't remember, to be honest. It might have been 2021. Yeah, so it's
So how long at that point? You've been doing it a long time now at that point because you started when you were
I started in
16, 17,
2018.
didn't you?
I started in
Yeah.
2018. Yeah, so I started in 2018. So up to that point, I probably trained in about 3 or 4 years. Yeah, I genuinely can't remember. I think it was 2022. It sounds about right. It was 2022. So yeah, so I just turned 22. So I was training for about 4 years. Of course, the COVID pandemic happened as well. So I didn't get a fight for like well over a year, maybe like a year and 6 months.
Yeah.
And
So you were ready to go.
I was ready to go, yeah, just trying to be as active as I could, going to Thailand. I've been to Thailand twice. I first went to Thailand in like 2018 when I first started Muay Thai, about like less than a year into my journey. Went there for a couple of weeks over Christmas, trained with the Thais. Definitely like almost reality hit me with how hard the Thais
Really?
are training. Yeah, because God,
Mm.
at the time those guys were training like twice a day. They were waking up at 6 a.m., running 5 miles, and I was doing it with them as well. Waking up, running 5 miles, 3 miles, then going back to a gym to then train for like another hour and a half. This is like before like you've even had breakfast. You're waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning. So you're training like 2.5 hours first thing on the morning. Then they're going to school, or so people like us, the foreigners who are going there to train, is getting rest, and so you train for a few hours on the morning, then you come back at 3 p.m. to train for another 3 hours. You start off with half an hour skipping, then you get into sparring and bag work and like training with the trainers. So they beast you, yeah, they train you really hard, and of course their fighters are just conditioned on a different level. But I feel like where we are in the UK as well, we're sort of catching up as well. So there's still not much to set us apart, but at the same time, the level and the intensity and the amount of volume the Thai fighters do, it's pretty ridiculous how their bodies
Yeah.
are literally just conditioned
So
to it.
if one of them came over here and became British, would they be able to just sweep the floor with
Depends who it
We get
was.
lots of
So it's
titles.
certainly fight
Yeah.
with me, so I won't give them that chance to do that. But no, those Thai fighters, yeah, definitely very strong, definitely very tricky as well, depending who you are. And yeah, so how they are built is just ridiculous. Training 6 hours a
Yeah.
day, 6 days a week. From young children, really. They start at like 4, 5, 6 years old for having professional Muay Thai fights. In Thai boxing, there's no like they don't sanctuate it, so like there's no padding, there's no levels where they build you up to being professional. You go straight into
Mm.
Muay Thai where you're elbowing people, kicking people in the head, kneeing people in the face, everything. So they're doing that from children. That's why you often hear like the Thai fighters who are young and start at 8 years old, they'll retire within 10 years. They'll retire by the time they're my age because we've already had
Mm.
hundreds of fights. So it's eye-opening how they live and the reasons why they do what they do. And yeah, but Thailand's coming on massively as well. Like I remember when I first went in 2018, then I compare it to when I went in 2022. The entire country literally changed loads. So it's
Really?
definitely up there. Yeah.
I went there in 2006.
Did you?
So
Yeah.
yeah, and
It's
that was it was just after there was that big tsunami there that
tsunami. Yeah.
wiped out a lot of the, like in places like Phuket and PP Islands, they were hit hard by the
Yeah. I
by
can
the
imagine. Yeah.
and still hadn't really recovered.
Yeah.
In fact, that's sort of why I was there. I was on a sort of mission trip thing to help rebuild a house.
Oh wow.
Um,
Wow. So you actually built a
yeah,
house in Thailand?
yeah,
Oh
sort of
wow.
helped out. Bit of bricklaying, bit of mixing cement and stuff.
Oh
I don't
wow.
know how much help we really were, to be honest. We might have been better off without us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I think these mission trips are more about the people going than it is about the help that they're actually going to give
Of
in a
course.
way, which is fine. Which is fine.
Yeah,
You
because you're
know,
donating, so you're helping them, so you're helping
yeah.
build those lives and those homes back up. So yeah, so
But a silly thing was that when we left, we bought them a cement mixer as a gift, and I was like, well, why didn't we give them that bit at the beginning of the 2 weeks there, helping them, and then they could have made a lot more use of our time.
yeah, that's
Instead
right.
of us mixing cement manually and then buying them a cement mixer, we could have bought them a cement mixer and then done something else.
Yeah, I would have taken a bit of time.
But anyway, no, it was good. It was a good time. But yeah, a long time ago. So it's interesting that it's you say it's changed a lot
Yeah, definitely.
since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I next ended up going to Thailand in 2022 from 2018. And then from 2022, I was just super active in fighting, just super active in competition, just training all the time, getting as much experience and as many fights as I could. Then, of course, won that first Northern Area title I talked about. Then
Yeah.
went on to winning my first British title last year, in October last year, which is when I got a really big crowd. So I'm really satisfied with who came to that and the special people who made it the night it was. So that was really, really cool. So it just felt like everyone was a part of my journey that night. And I'm sure people will never forget that night because I definitely won't. It was just a really fun night, really good chance.
So that was a UK title.
That was a British title, that's right. Yeah.
British title. Yeah. The previous one was just Northern Area.
The Northern Area title, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So in the build up, had a few fights. So put on some really.
Is that the one where you hurt your shoulder?
It was my international title this year where I won my shoulder, where I hurt my shoulder. Yeah, so it was my international title fight where I hurt my shoulder. So yeah,
Okay.
so won that British title fight, and then this year in March, fought for an international title in Leeds. That was a really good fight. So it felt like. So I definitely comfortably won it, but it just felt very intense. So we were both very really I feel like I could have done more and just pushed on a lot more, but it was a very technical fight. It felt like very much like a chess match, sort of say, where you've got to really think about how each of you are throwing shots and blocking shots and trying to outdo each other. I definitely beat him. Definitely a good fight to watch. Definitely were a good night as well, but just the injury as well, which set me back. But at the time, it didn't set me back. At the time when it happened, I just popped it back into place and then carried on fighting. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. So that's the 3 titles, and since then you've been out with injury.
Yeah, that's right.
But hoping to do another one maybe by the end of the year, otherwise next year.
100%. Yeah, definitely looking to be back active again. Just going to a Thai boxing show last night in Manchester where my mate fought
Mm.
the person he were fighting, and watching him win just made me want to fight again. Just being backstage or in changing rooms where the fighters were warming up, I was like, I can't wait for this to be me again. Yeah, so I just can't wait to be back in the mix.
Yeah, me neither, and I'll definitely come and see you. I'd love to get into something like boxing or something for my
Yeah,
how you started, just for fitness, really. I mean,
yeah.
I'm 45 now, a bit old to be fighting. I don't really want to fight, but I
No,
wouldn't.
no,
I
no.
do want to. I do want to do something. I do need to improve my fitness.
Honestly, Colin, for 1 hour a week, go on like a Wednesday night at 6 p.m. because that's where most of them are. Like, just go for 1 hour and just see how you think to it. Because you don't have to spar, you don't have to punch anyone, you don't have to get in a fight. It's literally just
Mm,
like pad work, fitness. You're gonna do a lot of footwork drills. You're gonna get sweaty. You're gonna need to change your t-shirt after and get a wash after. But just being in that mindset, it's just a completely different mindset to probably
yeah,
most
I've
of it.
actually got one of those VR headsets, and I've got a boxing game on
Right?
that, which
Yeah,
is actually really really good. It really wears me
heard
out if
quite
I
good.
do that.
Yeah,
Is that?
I've heard we're quite good. Yeah,
Yeah, and I've actually done it the last 3 days in a row, and my arms are really, really killing me. So
yeah.
yeah, it's definitely good exercise, even though I'm not actually hitting anything, just waving my arms around.
No, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
So I think I might just keep doing that every day until my arms stop aching, and then go and actually try and hit something.
Go to the boxing gym. Yeah, 100%. No, you'd enjoy it.
Yeah,
I feel like anyone can do it. It's all about self-defense, and plus it teaches you skills as
yeah.
well. Because you never know, like especially as a child. Like I personally wish I got into like martial arts and fighting and Muay Thai as a child, because it probably would have made me more like disciplined in school. Probably would have like saved me from like going down any wrong paths. Even though things have turned out well now, I probably would have been able to cut out a lot of bullshit, so to say, in my early life if I
But
got
I'm
into
sure there's some people though that might say, learning how to fight is going to send you down the wrong paths. What would you say to that?
I say the complete opposite, because I feel like if you learn how to fight professionally and then you've got the right coaches looking over you, they're going to put it in you that discipline is key when you know how to fight. Because if you know how to fight, you're not going to want to start picking fights on random people because you know your capabilities, but you just use it for self-defense. And I feel like as fighters, people give you a certain level of respect where it's like, let's not mess with that guy because he's actually trained to do what he does. So when people do naturally give you that level of respect, you've already proved yourself because you're spending hours every day fighting, like
Mm,
spending hours every day, literally training to fight and hit stuff. So it instills that
yeah.
discipline in you automatically. So there's a certain level there with pretty much any fighter where it's like we don't have to prove anything. So we don't have to go shoving our weight around or bullying anyone or doing the wrong things because we sort of know where we already stand with that sort of stuff. So I feel like
Mm,
as a child it's definitely good. I think I feel like if probably every child did it, so you won't really get many fights like outside of school or on the street, or you definitely won't be getting the sort of knife crime and the sort of like violent behaviour that goes on a young so amongst youths nowadays. I feel like it's definitely
yeah.
saved a lot of kids and definitely saved a generation a lot more.
It reminds me. Have you heard the expression? It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
I've heard that. Yeah, I do like it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a
So
bit like
I
that.
agree. Yeah, absolutely. So at the minute, so what's next for me in terms of Muay Thai as well is just trying to get my injury back to as close to as 100%
Mm,
it can be. So I'm currently injured at the minute. I feel like I was at a Thai boxing show yesterday, and tons of people are asking me when's your next fight, and I've said this story 100 times, and so it does get a little bit disheartening. But in my last fight, I fully dislocated my shoulder to quite a bad level, really. Like it fully popped out. I couldn't move
mm,
my arm, and then I had to pop it back in my fight. So it all happened like
right.
in a few seconds, and in that time I carried on fighting and finished the fight strong, albeit as well. And but ever since
You,
then, yeah,
and you won the fight.
I won the fight, so
Having.
international title. Yeah, so it was for a title. Um,
Oh right.
so that
Yeah.
injury happened in my fight. I couldn't move my arm, had to pop it back in and carried on fighting. Pretty mental story, but at the same time, being injured isn't glamorous. I'm not happy about being
No.
injured. I'd rather be very active. I'd rather be in full 100% fit and healthy, being able to fight and compete as often as I'd like to. But yeah, so
Mm.
what's next for me is just focus on the rehab, get this injury back to as good as new, and just be back doing what I do. Be back doing what I know best, fighting people, winning, knocking people out, putting on amazing performances for all the people who come support me, because I sell quite a few tickets as well. So it's always nice to have people who support me, cheering me on, taking time out of their day, spending their hard-earned money to come watch me and support me. So it just makes me
So when do you think the next fight's going to be?
100% next year. So I'd love to say December. If I could get a fight in December, that'd be amazing, because I'm just hungry to go. But 100%, it's got to be next year. So
Right.
I can't see it not being next year. But if
Well,
I
I hope
get it in
hope to
December,
be there.
yeah, 100%, mate. I'd love you to be there as well.
So yeah, it's interesting actually. Do you think that having two strings or several strings to your bow has helped you? Because if you were just a boxer and you were focused 100% on that, and you
Yeah,
got this injury and you couldn't train, you just had to rest for a few months. A
yeah,
lot of people might get out of shape, might get depressed, but you've got something else that you can sort of shift your focus to.
yeah.
Do you think that's helped?
Yeah, 100% it's helped. And just going back to what I used to do a few years ago as well, when I was a maintenance engineer, if I was just being a boxer at my level and a maintenance engineer, this dislocated shoulder would have took me out of work as well. So I don't know if that would have led to me losing my job, or sort of led to me sort of having a pay cut or anything. But I wouldn't have been able to be on the tools like I used to be. And so yeah, sort of like working for myself in property, doing the deals I'm doing, certainly does sort of give me the best of both worlds, because I'm still able to operate and do that. And the fact is, if I was just a boxer, I wouldn't be able to be, so if I was just a Thai boxer, just full time, I wouldn't be able to hold pads for people, which is where a lot of fighters get their money from. I wouldn't be able to spar, probably wouldn't be able to do seminars if I was doing seminars, and then at that level of doing seminars, because you need to have a fit body really to be doing all that stuff. So where the money
What's seminars? What is that like when you actually fight? What?
seminars, so certain Thai boxers at that level will sort of like put on these seminars at gyms where people will pay them to learn techniques off them.
Okay, so it's a seminar. Yeah, like I see what you mean. Like offer training to groups.
Literally what fighters will do to make money, but you've got to be a good fighter to do that. So you won't just pay for a seminar for any fucking fighter with two fights. But yeah, so if I
No,
was at that
but once
level,
you've won some championships or got some
exactly, yeah.
titles like you do, then yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. PTs as well, where people pay for personal training sessions. If I was doing PTs, then I wouldn't be able to simply with my shoulder at the minute, because I can't hold pads. I can't really spar with people. It's a bit hard to
Yeah.
sweep people. I can't really do any of that stuff at the
So
minute.
you are sort of exercising diversification in your business portfolio.
Honestly, yeah, that's literally right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So if somebody wants to work with you, they're interested in finding a BRR deal or doing some hands-off service accommodation.
Yeah.
How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can get in touch with me on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is House of Cheema, or they can get in touch with me on LinkedIn as well. If you just type in Teshi Cheema on LinkedIn, then you can get in touch with me. I'm in the process of setting up my own website for my own personal brand as well. So when the website is up and running, so I'll be able to put a link on my channels and social media channels. I'm sure you'll be able to get in touch with me through my website as well. So yeah, just find me on social media. I've got I've got an okay presence. Type in my name on Google, and then yeah, get in touch with me.
Great. So before I let you go, though, yeah, you mentioned Samuel Leeds. That's how we met. We met through his academy and through the sort of networking events and things. Tell us more about how you. I feel like that must have been quite an important part of your story, but we've kind of skipped over it,
Right. Yeah.
So tell us about what were you doing when you discovered him, and how? Yeah, tell us how did that come about?
Yeah, so I think I discovered Samuel on YouTube when I was about 17, 18 years old, quite young. And then, yeah, so I was learning the strategies off him, thought it was cool, liked the idea of a property, liked the idea of service accommodation, knew that's what I wanted to do for years. Didn't pay him straight away. Of course, I got a different property educator. That didn't work out for me, just because of what I said earlier on in the podcast with the hurdles and trying to overcome the objections I was receiving.
Yeah.
I found him, messaged him on Instagram. He replied to me on Instagram. Got one of his training advisors to call me. It's actually Ibi. Ibi's quite well known, quite popular, quite famous. He comes to my fights as well, so so I've got a good level of friendship with Ibi. Just speaking to him the other week. Actually, he sent me a photo with this guy who I met on my first ever training course. Those 4 days you do. My first training course, I was on for 4 days with this certain guy, and I don't think he joined up to the academy, but Ibi sent me a selfie with him and this guy, and he was like, "Do you remember this guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's that guy." And it was just quite funny, really, because seeing from where we came from on my first property training course to where I am now, it's crazy, like how much you can do in such a short space of time, really.
So when did you do that first 4-day training course?
I want to say it was July 2022. So
as the pandemic was dying down, and
yeah. So I think things were back to normal in about 2022 July time. Yeah. So as the pandemic died down, things were back to normal. Yeah, you're pretty much right. Yeah. So basically, messaged Samuel on Instagram. He replied back. Ibi rang me. Ibi signed me up to do a 4-day training course. Did that. Instantly, I just sort of knew I wanted the academy. So I just wanted the premium package and get the most out of my membership and get the most out of what was to offer. And that's still what I'm doing now. I feel like there's so many training courses on the academy, land development, commercial. I've just seen they've released a new entrepreneurial, like how to scale your business and how to be an entrepreneur training course, which is all about scaling and hiring teams. They've got auctions. We've got quite a lot of stuff going on. So I feel like, you could probably stay on it for years and, work your way through it all and be a master of all the strategies, which is probably what I'm trying to do right now, which is why I've been on it for so long, because I want to make use of all the training strategies which I teach, which I feel like is only right, to be honest.
It's really interesting how, because there's just, I keep saying this on the podcast, but there's just so much you can't do everything. You can't squeeze everything that's on offer in, even there's stuff every day on Zoom and stuff, but even all the trainings online, you could get through them all in a year, but you wouldn't have, you've got to have time to apply things. It's something I say as well.
100%.
You don't make money from doing training. You don't make money sitting there watching videos, training videos. You'll learn a lot, but you've got to then go and apply that for it to be worth it.
100%.
So you do have to sort of pick what strategies is going to work for you, or is best for you in your financial situation, your location. Focus on those strategies, and then a lot of other stuff, you're not going to be able to do. So there's more than 1 year's worth of value there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're on what, your 3rd year now?
Yeah. So it's technically my 3rd year now. I feel quite old saying that. Probably like one of the old academy members at the minute. So we'll see.
And it's important to mention then that the academy is quite expensive, but to stay on, that's the 1 year. But to stay on other years, it's a lot cheaper for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th year.
Yeah, it's pretty much 2K every year to renew. After your first year. So I think the academy, all in all, it's about 12K, but I think they take the 2K off. So I think you pay 2K for 4 days, and then the academy's 10K.
Yeah.
So it's like 12K altogether. So it's how they sell it, which makes sense. To be honest, for me, it's a good offer. And if you have to ask me, if you were 21, would you do it all again? I'd be like 100%. I'd have done it when I was 19, if I had the money. So it's a good package.
It's weird because it sounds like a lot of money, 12K, but it's about the same as what you pay for a year at university.
Honestly,
but we don't seem to think of that as being expensive.
Yeah.
But it's far more valuable, in my opinion.
Do you think that's because the way we're training in school to sort of have this employee mindset, do your A-levels, get a job, get a 9 to 5, work your way up the corporate ladder? Do you think that's why our financial thermostats are set here and maybe not here, like where the millions are, like where the millionaires are at?
Yeah, there's definitely something in that, but also there's the whole student loan system.
Yeah.
So people don't think about the money they have to pay to go to university because they know they'll just be able to get a student loan for it.
That's true. It's so accessible. So there's a reason for that as well. It's because we want you to.
So I think that's why something like Samuel Leeds and other training courses, they seem more expensive because they don't automatically come with a loan.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
Plus,
But
there's no promise in business and entrepreneurship that you're going to
no,
be
well, there's
successful.
no promise in getting a job. I mean, I study
It's not.
filmmaking. I'm not doing well. I'm kind of doing that now,
Yeah,
but I didn't. I did that because I wanted to be a Hollywood filmmaker and stuff. Certainly didn't do that.
yeah.
Only a tiny bit.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah. So there's no promise in anything. If I got a friend who studied law and then decided he didn't want to do that, became an English teacher.
you do it all the time.
And I used to work when I worked in e-commerce, I worked in a sort of secondhand bookshop for a while. There was a guy there with a master's in history,
Yeah,
working minimum wage,
exactly.
processing secondhand books.
Yeah,
There's people on who's it? I can't remember. One of the girl that used to be Samuel's assistant, and now she's one of the training advisors. She used to work. She got a degree in like physical training,
right,
and then was working at McDonald's.
right, right, right. Yeah,
So yeah, there's definitely no guarantee of anything, especially now that so many people go to university.
yeah.
It doesn't set you apart at all.
No, no, no.
I
Everyone's
think doing something like Samuel Leeds' course, if you're going to apply it, does set you apart
yeah.
way more than that
That's
sort
the
of thing.
difference between like the 1% and then like people who are technically ordinary, because the 1% will take these risks and these financial risks, and they will do stuff which that generally people aren't really doing. So they're happy to invest in education, happy to start companies and start
Yeah.
businesses, and take on risks. But with the right education, those risks can become limited, and the upside to those risks, I'm calling them, are just can be as big as you want, really.
Yeah, I think one of the keys in mindset is having a long-term view. And this is something that struck me about your story early on when you were talking about when you were sort of 16, 17, you clearly had a sort of longer term view than most people.
Yeah,
Most people live paycheck to paycheck. They want to do their work, they want to get paid, they want to spend that money
yeah, that's
within
true.
all within a month,
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas when you start thinking about where do I want to be in a decade's time? What steps can I do now to get to where I want to be in 10 years' time? That's when you start thinking, okay, I can spend some money on this now. I may not get a return for it immediately. It might be 2, 3, 4 years before I do.
yeah.
I can take that risk to get that reward in the long term. But you've really got to be thinking in terms of decades rather than months.
It genuinely is about the delayed
Yes.
gratification. Like you need to be taking all the right steps now, but you need to understand in your mind that those steps won't pay off until like a few years down the line. So yeah, that
Yeah.
delayed gratification is massive.
If you're interested in doing one of Samuel Lee's crash courses, there'll be a link in the description. If you're interested in following Teshi, I'll also put the links in the description as well to Instagram and LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you for inviting me on your podcast, Colin. It's been a really good conversation. I've enjoyed sharing my story. So I'm grateful to have met you. And then yeah, just everyone watching this, take massive action on whatever you want to do. Reach out to the right people for support. If you need a kick up your ass, message me, because I won't be shy giving you one either. And then yeah, just reach out, and then yeah, so let's all do big things.
Yes, in fact, I am interested in doing business with you in the future. So yeah, we definitely need to stay in touch.
Yeah.
So yes, you know where to get in touch if you're interested in doing business. If you're interested in joining us on the training that we've done, links are in the description, as I said. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next time.
See you later, guys.
Okay, well, if you are still watching, thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you're on. Leave us a review as well. All that stuff really helps. But the main thing is, head on over to our website, self-unemployed.co.uk, and there you'll be able to enter your email address. And once you've done that, you'll get invited to join us when we are recording future episodes. They're going to go out as live streams on YouTube, but not to the public, only to people who are on that mailing list. So if you do that, you'll be able to interact with us, ask questions as we're recording future episodes. So if you're looking to grow your wealth and become self-unemployed, let's do it together.
I'll see you next time.